Hey everyone, it's Ivan, keepatcher.com, out here for another gear review, and today I'm talking about this right here, which is the Premier Body Armor Large Universal Fit Backpack Insert. So what is it? It is exactly what it sounds like. It is a 3A rated ballistic panel that is sized for a backpack. This one being the large, it's approximately 11 inches by about 16 and a half. So you can take this, and right here, this is a backpack by X Block Designs. Go ahead, open it up, and depending on the backpack, this one actually has a pretty handy strap made for securing guns, or in this case, some body armor, keep it in place. And now, zip this thing up, ballistic protection that you can go ahead and throw on your back. Which I guess brings us to the why. Well, the world is and has been a dangerous place. And I don't know if I've ever met anyone that's like, man, you know what? I'm glad I'm not bulletproof. And this is something that maybe when it is inconvenient to go ahead and actually wear a bulletproof vest. If you're already carrying a backpack, it's just a matter of going ahead and throwing a panel in here. And it offers you some ballistic protection. So how have I actually used this? As far as use goes, I've actually carried it some while traveling. First time, I believe, flying out to Georgia for the SOCF fundraiser, and then also flying out to Oklahoma for a 3-day course. I was doing some filming with Bill Rapier out there. And both times, 2 different packs, one in the Prometheus Design to Work Shadow Pack, and also in my, I believe it's the Arc'teryx Mantis. Both times I ended up flying with this. It is per Premier Body Armor's site, like TSA approved. Don't really know what that means. I do know I didn't get hemmed up going through TSA. And yeah, basically it's in there. This one right here being size large, kind of universal fit, as the name would imply, and only weighs, I believe, just under 2 pounds, which pretty insignificant. And it's one of those where, in part, just kind of peace of mind. Like, I don't want to get shot. Don't really want to get shot in the back either. But you know what? If this is in there and something unfortunate happens, I would much rather have armor than not have armor. Which brings us to use case. Do you just want to throw this in your backpack and you're like, if I get shot in the back, I'm good to go? You could. You absolutely could. But the way I think this actually kind of is more valuable, honestly, it takes a little bit of training. So basically using this with your backpack as a shield. What do I mean? I mean, basically, when you draw out, if there's a threat in front of you, bringing your backpack around and being able to position it in front of your vitals so that you can hopefully engage that threat until it is no longer a threat, and at the same time, keeping some armor between you and the threat. I will say there is definitely a learning curve to this. And as far as just drawing this out and slinging this thing around, not super fast. I think straight out the gate, for me, probably a little over 4-second draw stroke, because having to basically clear my strong hand. And by the time this came around, drew out about 4 seconds. After just repping it a little bit, down sub 3 seconds. Still, sub 3-second draw is nothing amazing. So a more realistic approach would probably be get off the X, at which point you go find a position of cover or concealment, at which point you can actually bring this thing around, bring your weapon to bear, then engage a threat if need be. All of this requires a little bit of training. But Ivan, is it really bulletproof? It totally is, depending on the bullet. This stuff being 3A, basically that's a certification level for soft armor. What it means is that per the IIIA testing protocols, it'll stop a number of different bullets, whether it's 9mm, 40, 45, 44 Magnum. Will it stop all of those calibers, all those bullet designs? I ended up going out, throwing it into this backpack right here, because I didn't want to shoot my nice backpacks up, and went ahead, took this thing out there, threw it on PFC Bob, and did some shooting. Right here is PFC Bob. He was voluntold to go ahead and hold this backpack for me. And right here we have the Premier Body Armor. This is one of their 3A inserts for backpacks. So this is gonna go in there like such. Zip this guy up. Bob's gonna be a trooper and hold this, and we'll get started with shooting this thing. Right here, I'm at a couple yards. Bob behind me, holding that 3A panel, and I have just a couple ball training ammo loaded up by G9 bullets coming out of my Glock 17. So let's party, Bob. All right. No complaints from Bob, probably because he doesn't want extra fire watch. Got them both. So, all right, moving on. You're not done yet, Bob. Next up, I have 2 rounds of the SIG 124 grain jacketed hollow points, and throw them into Bob. Check them out. Let's see how Bob did. Those SIG rounds down lower, looks like right there and there. And yeah, caught him. Definitely some back face deformation with the soft armor is going to give regardless. But yeah, I don't know. Probably a little abdominal bruising. Let's go ahead and move on from here. Genuinely curious about this one. These are 2 rounds of the Woodsman bullets made by G9 Bullets. They're basically a solid copper round made for super deep penetration. They're made at the request of, I guess, Fish and Game up in Alaska, looking for a round that is going to punch through a bear that you can load into a 9mm. So we'll see how this does against this 3A armor. Hang in there, Bob. Oof, it didn't sound good. All right, let's see what we're working with here, Bob. These 2 rounds went low through there, right there and there, and oof, they went through. There and there. One exited all the way through PFC Bob. So, gonna give this guy some Motrin and water. What are the takeaways? Number 1, don't get shot. Number 2, if you get shot with one of these body armor panels, make sure the guy doesn't have mags loaded with basically bear rounds. Those things coming out smoking fast, solid copper, and just the bullet design actually punched through this. I've managed to recover one of them because it actually hit, I think, like this metal grommet going out basically the far side of Bob. That essentially is part of the mechanism that holds them in place, whereas the other one punched all the way through into the berm. But yeah, I mean, yeah, don't get shot with bear rounds, man. So what are my thoughts on these ballistic backpack inserts? Honestly, I think it's just kind of a value add. They don't weigh much at all. They're nice and thin. And if you already have a backpack that is maybe part of a contingency for basically an all-around bad situation, maybe you have your truck gun in here, AR pistol, compact carbine, something along those lines. Well, if things have gotten that bad where that's coming out and your spare mags and everything else, you probably want to have a little bit of ballistic protection as well. And this makes it very easy to do that without having to pull out like a plate carrier or, for that matter, be wearing around soft armor. And in conjunction with the training side of it, you basically can be cruising around with a ballistic shield if and when you need to go to guns to solve a problem. You can find these universal backpack inserts over at Premier Body Armor. As I mentioned, universal fit, this one being large, obviously a small and a medium as well. But depending on what you're looking for, if you actually want kind of a purpose-built everyday carry backpack, actually there's a ton of selection over there, whether it's like different offerings from Vertex that actually have specific cut panels for those packs. So they fit in there perfectly. Again, it's not just kind of a universal fit, which is pretty cool, especially if you're looking for just a turnkey package. This one right here runs, I think, just over $200 for this universal fit, large 3A panel. If you pick one up, I would encourage you to actually get out, do some training with your backpack, kind of see what your draw stroke looks like, and yeah, how you can actually use it as a ballistic shield. You can, of course, just be like, hey, I'm gonna put this thing on my back and I'm just gonna run as fast as I can. Solid plan, hopefully it works out. But I think the real value, honestly, is basically bringing this thing around, using it like a shield if and when it comes to guns. But if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. Whether it's liking and sharing videos, or going over to kitbadger.com, or going over to Patreon where you can support me directly, greatly appreciate all of it. And if you have questions, probably not going to answer them in the comments, but over on Patreon, we got an active Discord. Happy to answer anything over there. And as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.